Okay, so you're back on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Give us an update on where you're at since the last time we talked. Let me see. I have to figure out exactly what episode that was. So that was back. It was a while ago. What episode were you on? Episode number 74. And we interviewed you, and you were very successful. But since then,
I think last time we spoke, I was still set on going to Stony Brook, and like I love that school, but because of distance and other factors involving like my personal goals as a PA, like I want to work in Brooklyn, and I want to be a PA in the city and work with this particular patient population. And I just felt like SUNY Downstate would do a better job at preparing me, because since their hospital affiliations are primarily in Brooklyn and in the city, in New York City. So I feel like, but what's the best way of preparing myself for my actual career than just literally working with the practicing with the same patient population that I'll be working with for the rest of my life. So I thought that was the most important thing for me. Plus distance, it's 20 minutes away if I drive, and it saves me a lot of money. So I don't have to take out that many loans. And just like overall, like when I went to the interview at SUNY Downstate, it's just like the location, the vibe, it just felt like home, honestly. I was like, wow, like I feel home. And it was it.
That's awesome. So when we last talked, had you interviewed at SUNY yet or not yet?
Not yet. I didn't even know I was going to get interviewed there, because their application is not part of CASPA. It opens in August. And they start interviewing like after like January, or like mid-January, they start calling people.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Okay, give me a quick rundown of how many schools you applied to, what you ended up doing as far as hearing back, interviews, acceptances.
Right. So this is the most common question, and I have no idea why this is even. I literally thought I was gonna get nothing, and I applied to 10 schools. I got 7 acceptances, right? 7 acceptances, and I was invited to 9 interviews, but I didn't go to like the 2 of them because like it was no point. So like I decided to not go. So yeah, that's the rundown.
Okay.
Pretty crazy.
That one school that just didn't want you.
Literally, no, I know exactly. When I applied, I knew they weren't gonna take me because I just felt it. I just felt that school was not gonna take me. I don't know why I applied.
I didn't think any of them were gonna take you, but that's impressive. That's for a first-time applicant. I mean,
I'm actually kind of shook from that whole experience. This whole year was crazy for me because if you asked me last year, I would have 7 acceptances. I would be like, yeah, okay. Where no, it's definitely a huge blessing to be able to make a decision, even to be able to choose between schools. That's a blessing. It's such a great advantage, because I know a lot of people, they pray to get like even one school and don't even get in, and like that's sad, like they have to do the whole process again. It's a little discouraging, and I'm really, really happy and just very blessed I don't have to go through that.
Yeah, and you're basically like an Instagram model now. So.
Oh my God. Yes.
Can we talk about that?
My friend takes all my pictures.
I need a friend. Where's my friend?
Right. So I have my best friend Julia, I have my best friend Michelle, and my friend Abby. So they all take my pictures. And also, like, speaking of Instagram and having people meet each other, I made really good friends with Lo. She's also has a physician assistant life. I think you know her. She did the giveaway recently with your book.
Oh yeah.
And she also lives in New York City, and we were like, you wanna meet up and take pictures? We were like, yeah, sure, and we did, and we became really good friends. Like, she's super cool, and that's one thing, like, the platform is connecting all these people from all different walks of life. Like, I would never even like know about you if it wasn't for Instagram.
Yeah, for real.
I'm so scared. Didactic, you have no idea. I looked at my fall schedule and I almost cried. One of my classes is from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Sounds about right.
No way.
Wait,
Savannah.
you applied to 10 programs and you didn't know that? Whoops.
I knew like the classes would be like 5 hours, 6 hours, but the physical diagnosis class and like in like patient interviewing, that's gonna be like a whole job. It's like 9 to 5, literally.
Oh,
And I'm
that's
taking pathophys, biochem, farm, and something else. And that's in the fall though. Fall is gonna get crazy. And that's another thing that I really, really liked about SUNY Downstate and Stony Brook. Both of these programs, they start off kind of slowish and then they pick up the pace. So like the first semester is summer semester and I only have 3 classes. And then they're gonna pick it up and then they like, like you don't just jump in. Like some of the new programs that are around here in New York, they start in the fall and they start with like 9 classes. And like that's aggressive.
a lot, yeah. We just did an ad first year. Or
Mhm.
not year, semester, not for a year. But you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Obviously, you're a
Yeah.
qualified applicant, so you'll do great. Do you remember your stats? Well,
Yes.
first of all, the question, I posted this question on Instagram. I said, what would you ask someone who is accepted to 7 PA schools? What would you want to ask them? The number one question, I got this question probably 20 times, was just how.
I have no idea.
How. And so we'll get to that, but give us a rundown of your stats.
Okay, cool. I have it saved actually, so I can just answer this question right away. So my overall GPA was 3.51. My science GPA was 3.47. I went to Brooklyn College for my undergrad, only Brooklyn College. I didn't transfer schools, anything. I just took all of my prerequisites and every single class I took there.
That's good, by the way.
Right, and I think that's good. I think that shows consistency also. I didn't, because like in New York, like there are other schools who are known to have like easier science courses in a way. Like I don't want to name names, but in this other school, if you get an A in organic chemistry, that's like a C in Brooklyn College because their organic chemistry is multiple choice, and ours it's literally like a blank paper. Our exams are blank papers, and it's like, oh, draw this reaction or like whatever, like do the synthesis. I took every single science class that Brooklyn College offered because I knew that when I was a sophomore, like I had a C and a D in orgochem labs, lab 1 and lab 2. And I knew that was gonna be really bad and I knew I was gonna get asked on an interview about those. But I wanted to really like get it together and show them that I'm ready for the intense coursework of PA school. So I took all of the advanced science courses like Biochem 1, Biochem 2, Medical Micro, genetics, like literally every single science course that I could possibly ask as a prereq. I took all of those and I got really good grades in them. And I was after the C and the D, I was a 4.0 student for 6 consecutive semesters. My last 6 semesters, I was a 4.0 student. So I think that looks really good because like you have that upward trend, and a lot of people who start off like not having consistent study habits and they're slacking a little bit and they have no like direction because I didn't have direction. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then when I realized that the summer of my sophomore year, when I was about to start my junior year in college, that's when I realized that I wanted to be PA because that was the first summer that I started volunteering. That's when I met a PA for the first time and I did my research and I realized that this is what I want to do. And like having that sense of direction, being goal driven, definitely gives you like the push to get it together and like do what you have to do to get to your goal. And that's exactly what happened to me. So in terms of hours, I had 630 hours of volunteering. Like in general, this is the healthcare experience, not PCE. So HCE is just healthcare experience, and PCE is patient care experience. And they're different because patient care is a little more, a lot more involved in the patients. Like you have to be directly working with them, directly helping them. And with the PCE, I had about 4,500 plus. And this is not like it didn't happen like over a year. Like I spent 3 years working nonstop, different jobs as a PT aide, and then I became a medical assistant at a pain management place, and then I became a medical assistant through through connections. I asked around and I submitted my resume to like 50 places, and finally this vascular clinic accepted me. They gave me a job, and I was working with vascular patients for like a year and a half. So like all of these experiences, you accumulate your hours, and I got like over 4,500 of PCE. I also did research in Maimonides Medical Center. This research, like I didn't like it at all because it wasn't for me. Like the research is not for me. I'd rather be with patients. And I got this through asking around. Like I was like, oh, what else should I do? They were like, oh, speak to this guy. And like I just spoke to this guy, spoke to that lady, whatever. You network and you find something, and I did research for 38 hours. After 38 hours, like, oh, it's not for me. Goodbye. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 letters of recommendation. And side note, I know CASPA only allows 5 letters, but you can totally take the other 3. You can take them with you to the interviews because, like, I feel like you're allowed. A lot of the schools, most of the schools, took it. When I went, like, I interviewed with them, and I was like, oh, at the end, I was like, hey, I have other letters of recommendation. These 3 over here, if you don't mind reading them. These are also like people that I worked with, and most schools shouldn't have a problem with that. And I think that's it. And I applied to 10 schools, and that's it. Yeah.
Okay. One thing I want to make sure people hear is you had a C and a D on your transcript.
Yes.
And you still got that many acceptances.
Yes.
Okay. That's one of the main questions that I get is, I have a C in this class. Can I still get into PA school? Did you, and just to clarify for me, did you retake those exact classes?
No.
You didn't. Okay. What did you have the C and the D in?
So D, I got in Organic Chemistry 1 lab.
Okay.
The C, I got in Organic Chemistry lab 2. So
lab portion.
So of course, these definitely came up in the interviews, and I was prepared to answer them. And I was very honest because, like, I feel like honesty is always appreciated. For the D, like few of the schools, it was such a like out of the blue question. Like we would talk about something else, and then the guy would pick up the transcript and goes, "So, why'd you get a D?" Right away, and I was like, "What do you mean?" And like it hits you really like, I'm like, oh my god, like what do I answer? But I kept it honest. I told them like I was lazy. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I was late to class. I didn't do my assignments. And that's why I got a D. And they like it. They like honesty. I didn't sugarcoat it. I just told them the way it was. I wasn't prepared for the intensity of the class at that time because I didn't have the right study habits to tackle these science classes. And I was not the right kind of student. And then as I went on, as I became goal driven, I definitely developed strong study habits and was able to prioritize academics over everything.
Would you say that those grades were the most concerning part of your application, or were there other things that you were worried about?
Yeah, those grades were the most concerning part. Those were the grades because I really thought that having a D, like if schools see a D, they're gonna be like, what is this? And that's the C and the D were, they were the biggest red flags of my application.
Okay, what was your
So I was a psych major and chemistry minor. I was a double major in psych and bio, but something happened with the department last semester they changed their criteria, and I was like, I'm not doing this, and I dropped the bio major.
Gotcha. And did you take a gap year?
No, so you tell me honestly. I don't know if this. So my gap year is right now.
Okay.
So I never took a gap year. I was always in school, and last year when I applied, I was still in school, but I was taking like only two classes. I was taking genetics, which was still in progress, and another class, and I was still working. I worked throughout my entire college career though, because I had to pay for school. So that was the thing. But I don't think I took a back. No, I don't think it's considered a gap year. No, I didn't take it.
Okay. So, one of the questions we had, and I think you touched on this a little bit when we were talking before, is, people just feel like they aren't ready to apply. This is another question I'm getting right now. Is, should I keep working on my application? And kind of my response is, you could work on your application forever and you could keep improving things, but eventually you just have to apply. And my rule of thumb is if you meet the minimum requirements for a program, go ahead and apply. Have a strong personal statement, be ready for interviews, because at that point you have as good of a shot as anyone. So hearing from you, how did you deal with just feeling like you weren't good enough, or knowing that you were ready and competitive enough to apply?
So that's a great question, and I was actually asked this myself. So I thought I was gonna apply back in 2017, but I didn't apply. I wasn't ready because I still didn't take some prerequisites. They were still outstanding. Like anatomy 2 was outstanding, and biochem 2, and like I think microbiology also, and genetics. So like I had 4 classes that were still outstanding, and I didn't have my vascular clinic job yet at that time. So my friends were like, "Why don't you just apply, give it a shot?" And I literally just didn't feel I didn't feel confident. I think if I applied back then, I wouldn't get in. This time, it took me like 6 months to work on my personal statement. It took me a while to, get my hours together. I think I made a right decision back in 2017 to hold back because I just don't think I had enough hours, and I didn't have the right grades either. Because like those 4 classes that I took improved my GPA by like I think I was at 3.4, and then it rose up to 3.5, and that made a big deal also. Yeah, so I feel like it's a thing that you feel. Like if you feel like you're confident in your application, and you have, like you said, you have your minimum requirements, and you just feel good about what you're putting out there, just go for it.
So about your essay, what do you feel like made your essay stand out? Did you use anything to help you prepare? That was one question. Is kind of like, what resources and things did you use or find helpful?
Oh, I was on your page every single day. I was on your page every single day. I was on the PA platform website, literally every day, looking for. There's so much information there, so much, and it's you can literally find something there all the time. And I was on Ashley's page, Ashley K. I love her. She helped me a lot also. I was on her page all the time, and just like and I listened to your Instagram live sessions that you held at some like auditorium with like a bunch of kids. Like I was listening to those and I was writing down things. Like for example, I remember you said something about when you're entering your responsibilities on CASPA, like for each job and volunteering position, and you literally said when you're writing down your responsibilities, don't just say you did this and this, because like everybody else is doing the same thing. Write down what you learned from that experience. That's exactly what I did, and that was great. But for the personal statement, I talked about how my life sort of went, like how I went through my life, start living in Armenia, and then experiencing a loss, and then coming to a whole different country, starting over, and how that experience back in my home sort of influenced me to go into medicine and have this like interest in medicine, and how I after all of these experiences, how I came about choosing the PA profession. And I literally said, I said, when I knew that I wanted to be in the medical profession, in the medical field, but I just didn't know which career path to choose. And those were the same exact words I used in my personal statement. And then after shadowing PAs, working with all of these different healthcare professionals in hospitals, clinics, volunteering, this and that, you figure it out for yourself, and that's what I did. And I also talked about like a personal experience, like an incident that happened in a hospital in the emergency room where it really like it impacted me as a person, and like you have to like discuss these things briefly because you can talk about them for 3 pages, but you have only 5,000 characters. So you have to really spend time working. Like I spent 6 months because once you write a sentence and it makes sense, but you could rewrite the sentence and make it shorter and have the same meaning. So that took me a while because each character, each word needs to make sense in your personal statement. And you can't just like, you have a very limited amount of words. You want to tell the admissions committee what you're really feeling, and each word counts. So you have to choose your words wisely and use them.
Well, and it sounds like you stayed on top of the prompt, which is very important and something that I see people messing up all the time because they want to just use examples or tell me their life story, but not necessarily how that relates to PA. So
right. So that was the thing. That was the thing I worked on a lot. So like you have to connect your life story plus how that led you to the PA profession. How do these things connect? And for the conclusion, you bring it all together and you like make like a nice 4 sentences, 5 sentences conclusion, and just keep it nice and short and sweet. Because the admissions committee, they read thousands of letters and they get tired of reading them. I feel like, I don't know, but you want something that stands out. And I used a lot of visual language in my essay. I thought it would be a little too much, but my friends read it. Like when you're asking friends to read it, you have to ask people whose English skills, whose grammar skills are better than yours, so that they can catch it, you know. And they were like, no, I think this is very special. Like it stands out, so keep it. And I did, and I think it worked out.
Yeah, obviously. Okay, so let's kind of talk about interviewing. One question was, how did you afford to go to your interviews? Did you plan for that?
Yeah, so I worked, like I said, I worked throughout my college career, so I saved up some money. Also, I applied to schools only in New York and one school in New Jersey, Rutgers. So my interviews were all around here. With Stony Brook was the furthest I traveled, and it was like a 2-hour ride to Long Island. That's why it was easier for me because I didn't apply to schools in California, and a lot of the schools that I went, the schools in New York that I went to for interviews, other applicants were like from Alaska, California, Texas. And I remember I went to Cornell for an interview, and we had a girl there from Hawaii.
Oh my
and
God.
and so she had to like literally travel from like these are expenses that you have to account for. Thankfully, I only applied to schools around here, and all I had to do was just drive there. So like I didn't have to pay for hotels, I didn't have to pay for flights, so it was very convenient.
Yeah, that's awesome. As far as interviews, what was the hardest part?
Interviews are exhausting because you have to always smile, you have to be super nice, you have to like, and like you want them to like you, so it's like how do you act? Do you like, it's just it's stressful. It's the stress part of it exhausts you, and you have to dress nice, look nice, and the hardest part, for my first interview, the hardest part was, am I going to stutter? Am I going to like sound like I have no idea what I'm talking about? And I have like an accent. I don't know if you can tell. And I was like worried about my accent. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to articulate myself properly, but it didn't.
You're a New York accent.
I do. But that was the hard part. other people were really nervous during the interview, and they were waiting. We were all waiting in this one area. I remember for Stony Brook, it was like 25 of us waiting in one area, and there were the current students were there. They were cheering us out, and they were, "Oh, don't worry, guys, it's gonna be great. They're super nice," and they were. That's one thing that was surprising to me. The staff were all super nice. They're not trying to they're not trying to kill you or whatever. Like they're not trying to intimidate you. At least the ones that I went to, they're literally just trying to get to know you and have a conversation. It's that simple. And you just talk to them like you're talking to like your friends, a little more professionally. And I feel like yeah, that's it. There were people who were really nervous. I was like, and I mean, I didn't speak to anybody because I wanted to gather my thoughts, but I don't know. It wasn't the interview season wasn't the toughest for me. It was the application part that was tough for me.
So what would be your best advice for interview?
Um, this book is literally the Bible. Um, so when I was reading this book, this is the Physician Assistant School Interview Guide by yours truly, Savannah Perry. When I was reading this book, I was really intimidated by the MMI interviews because I had no idea what those are, and I still don't know what they are. But I read like how to like sort of approach them, like every other question, like the behavioral ones, traditional ethical questions. These are all fine because like it's like you can answer them in a way, and there's no right or wrong answer. I mean, there is a wrong answer, but like as long as you try your best and you're really like just being truthful, the admissions committee sees that. They interview thousands of kids. They know what they're asking and they know what kind of response they're looking for. And just as long as you're being truthful and like just saying what you think and being honest with yourself and with them, excuse me, they really see that and they really like that. But for the MMIs, I was really afraid because like I don't know, like they give you scenarios. Thankfully, I didn't have any questions like, oh, if you were a fruit, what kind of fruit would you be? I don't know. I'm not a fruit. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I had a girl in my one of the interviews that I was at. She was like, I really like the interview process here because it's very conversational. But the other school that she went to in Maryland, I think, they were asking her if she was if you were a fruit, what kind of fruit would you be? And I feel like that's not a question you should ask a PA student. An applicant. I don't think that makes any sense. But what do I know?
Yeah, I mean, I think they just ask them really to kind of almost throw you off and see how you respond and see what you can do with it. But does it really tell you anything about them? Probably not. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. So I enjoyed interviews too. That's kind of why I like interviews.
I really like the interviews. It's like you sit there and you talk about yourself. I like it.
So we're doing now, right? All right. Do you consider yourself a traditional or non-traditional student?
Traditional.
Traditional. Okay. Mm-hmm. I agree. Okay. Let's see. What were these other questions? I think you've done a good job of talking about how you stood out. How long did it take you to fill out your application, and when did you submit?
Right. So CASPA opened April 24th last year. I submitted mine, I think either May 12th or May 9th, May 13th. Okay. So it took me that much, but I prepared beforehand. That's one thing I wanted to talk about is like you have to prepare for this. That's what like I recently made a post and a lot of people responded to that. A lot of people saved it, which I'm really happy about. They'll work on it. You have to like you should be able to enter your grades the first day. Like I would really put the first day just to enter your grades and make sure everything is correct. And start and get your letters of recommendation. Like be on top of that because that's the only part of your application that you're not in control of. You're waiting for other people to submit it for you. So and like some professors can take forever and they don't care. They'll take forever. Actually, the PA and I had two PAs and an MD, they were the fastest. They submitted right away. Thank God. I remember my biochem professor, she took like 2 weeks to submit, and I was in her office every week, like, Professor, could you please submit it? I wanna, like, give him my application already, and blah blah blah. Like, you have to be super nice and don't be annoying, but like also stay on top of it. Like, remind them, because I get it. Like, she was teaching 2 biochem courses, and it's a lot of students are taking that course. So I get that she has a lot on her plate, but I also had to submit my application. So, just be consistent, go to them every week. Be like, hey, professor, just wanted to remind you that they're going to send you a link and you're going to have to upload it yourself, my letter, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, so it took me, I think, how long was that? Like 2.5 weeks to submit my application.
Okay. So you got it early, which makes a big difference. Yeah.
Right. So for 2017, I was going to get it in by October, November, which was not I wasn't with it. And that's why I waited till 2018. Once it opened, I submitted it within 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks.
That's awesome. Okay, what else do the people need to know?
So I have this rule, the 75-25 rule for your PCE and HCE. So when you're entering your experience on CASPA, if you're, like, let's say you're a medical assistant or a patient care tech or whatever it is, I say 75% of your job is PCE, 25% of your job is HCE. That's how I kind of divided it, and it worked for me because, like, as a medical assistant, obviously I mostly was with my patients and, like, taking care of them. But there's the 25% of the job where you're doing correspondence, calling in prescriptions, notes, like talking to other doctors, and like, just like, for example, appointments and all of this, scheduling, administrative aspect of the healthcare setting. So I think that should be like that 25% of your time. For example, let's say you work there for 100 hours, 25 hours you would put as HCE, and 75 hours you'd put as PCE. That worked for me. That's how I divided it.
Well, people get really hung up on trying to have exact numbers, and I think that's very difficult, especially if your job is very divided. So I always tell people just estimate the best you can and always underestimate instead of overestimate.
Right. Yes. So I actually was keeping track of my hours because, like, when I get a paycheck, it says how many hours I had. So I would just, like, add them up. I would keep my pay stubs, and I actually did underestimate. Like, I think by like I wanted to make it a round number, and I didn't overestimate, underestimated it, which is fine. What else was there that I wanted to? Another question that is most common. It was why did you come? I actually answered this already. Why did you choose your school?
I think what people want to know too, and I think it's a hard decision, especially if you've already committed to a school, because obviously you lost a deposit, right?
Yeah, so actually, well, I don't know if I should say this, but Stony Brook doesn't have a deposit.
Really?
They don't have a deposit. Yeah, no. If they choose you, that means they're confident in you. That you can. Yeah, but I did lose a deposit though to one of the schools before I got into Stony Brook.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a tough decision to make, but ultimately, in the grand scheme of things,
right,
$1,000 here when you are able to go to the school you want to go to, or a cheaper school, or get done sooner, or just your happiness. I mean, is your happiness worth $1,000? I would say yes. So,
100%.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, right now it seems like a lot, but it won't be down the line.
I absolutely agree, 100%. Because like, you lose it, like, let's say you lose $1,000, but you actually, like, in my case, I'm actually saving $50,000 in terms of loans. Whatever. $1,000. Yeah. My tuition for SUNY Downstate is about $40K for the entire program.
Wow. All the whole time?
Yeah, the entire program is $40K.
So okay, mine was is that a public school?
Yes,
Okay, so I went to a public school, which I totally recommend if possible. But
but it's also very competitive.
yeah,
Public schools are
yeah,
the worst to get into because they are cheap and everyone is trying to get their application cycle. Like that application was really hard to fill out because it wasn't CASPA. It was completely different. It was such a hassle to fill out the application for SUNY Downstate.
my public school was separate too. How many public schools are in New York? Do you know?
So SUNY Downstate, CUNY York, which I got accepted to also. That's also a public school. That's part of the City University of New York. And SUNY Downstate is State University. Stony Brook is public. And CUNY School of Medicine, which I got an interview invite but didn't go. And that's in Harlem. It's in Manhattan. What else is there? And I think those are the 4 schools that are around us. And there's SUNY Upstate, it's in Albany. It's further away. Yeah. And Rutgers is a state school for New Jersey residents.
Okay. Cool. So in Georgia, there's only one state school.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that's where I went. But my total tuition I think was around 45 for the whole time. And that's how much. So, and you'll learn this. Maybe if you're taking out loans, but I took out $45,000 in loans. And I've talked about this before, but I didn't look at them until the end of PA school because I figured there was no point because I couldn't pay them back. And by the end of PA school, that 45,000 had grown to 75. So it was.
Did you get state loans or government loans, or did you do private loans?
I just did government. Yeah. So I was living at home with my parents. I didn't have to take out any private loans. I just took out for tuition and fees. And,
oh my God.
Yeah.
It's gonna grow. I mean, honestly, I have been talking to a lot of people on Instagram who are currently students, and they have like already over 150.
Yeah.
And that's a lot. That's a lot of money.
It is, but I mean, you'll pay it back, and it's fine, and
yeah,
part of it. So totally worth it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What else? What knowledge can you impart to us?
I mean,
I just need people to know that you contact me. You're like, I have so much more that I want to tell the people.
I know, because that was after my SUNY Downstate interview, and I actually thought I bombed the interview. I thought I did so bad, and I was like, I cannot believe this. And I wanted to just like spread knowledge, but like,
I love it.
That we answered this question. We answered all of these questions.
I feel like we covered a lot of stuff, but you know what's going to happen is you're just going to get more questions now.
Honestly, no, but so one girl messaged me and she was like, how did you get started on your hours? Like, what did you do? And I feel like this is such an important thing to talk about, because let's say you asked everyone, you should ask. That's the only way to really get started. Let's say you asked your friends, your mom, your aunt, everybody that you know, and they have no connections with medical professionals. Go to the nearest hospital and start volunteering. Fill out some paperwork, the application for volunteering, and that's the best way to put your foot through the door, because the best way to get someone to let you shadow them is by asking them, because if you don't, they're not gonna know. But also, like, there's a way to ask. There's a way to, like, you have to know when to start the conversation and when to end it, because these people are always super busy. And I was like kind of intimidated to approach them while they're on a floor working, because like they're running around, they're busy, especially the nurses, because they're not playing cards. Yeah, but like I remember this one doctor I asked her, but it took me like a month to like really catch her where she's just like on her phone, to go and ask her, because like she was always busy, she was always grabbing things, always doing something, and you can't just like ask them when they're in the middle of their job, because like it's kind of, I don't know, like you don't want to interrupt them. You have to find the right moment to ask. And I did. I finally did, and I asked her, and I shadowed her for 2 years. And same thing with the PA. Two PAs actually. Well, first one I asked in emergency room. I was a regular volunteer, and I asked, and I was like, "Listen, I want to go to PA school, and I would really appreciate if you would let me shadow you for like an hour or two." And he was like, "Yeah, sure." And then after that, like, if you build a bond, if you build a connection with this person, and like don't be annoying, just like like don't ask them constant questions. Just like stand back, watch, observe. After a while, when you develop a relationship, you can be a little more like aggressive with questions.
Yeah.
But at first, I feel like it's good to just like not get in the way of them working, because they are doing you a favor, and you don't want to like cause because like the fast track at the hospital was super crowded, super busy, and I just felt like, oh my god, like I'm like this tail following him, and I felt really like I was like so extra there. But just like don't just be cool, just stay in the corner, watch what he's doing or she's doing, and then you'll build a relationship with them. But asking, always ask, always submit your resume, always do this, that, like, oh, like just try, because if you don't, they're not gonna know who you are.
Totally agree. That is the only way, is to keep asking, and if someone says no, ask two more. If they say no, ask four more. Like just
Right, because you're gonna always get rejection. Rejection is everywhere. You're gonna hear more no's than yeses. That's 100%. I have this one orthopedic surgeon that I really wanted to shadow, and he literally looked at me and walked away. And like you're gonna have to be prepared for that. You're gonna have to be prepared for the rejection. Like they're not even gonna even answer you. They'll just walk away. That happens also. But you're just gonna have to take it and say, okay, whatever. Next.
move on. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think we covered a lot, Savannah. I don't know. I have like maybe I have more to say, but not at the moment. I feel like I'm
We'll have
blanking.
to check in once you're a PA student. You can share all your PA student advice.
Yes, absolutely. Also, I wanted to ask you a question. So, so for like, I know there's like osmosis and online med ed and all of these other resources, like Pants Prep Pearls and all these books. Like, what would you recommend if you were back in PA school and like you were taking microbiology and like clinical immunology and like pathophys, pharm? What would you recommend?
Okay. At first, I thought you were actually about to ask about osmosis, and I was like, don't do that. You
No.
do not do that. Okay, so there are a ton of resources now, which is great because when I was in school, there weren't. I can tell you kind of what I used, and then also I've been able to kind of play with now that I think is helpful. But I also think a lot of the current and like recent graduates may be helpful. Also, have to retake PANCE in like 3 years, and that freaks me out. And I
Oh
will
my God.
need your help then. So, a couple things. I really like books. Like I am a book person. I love having books. And so there's one book called The Certification and Recertification, like pants something. It's blue and green, I think. That was the book that I used the most. And it doesn't have a ton of detail, but it has enough that it's based on the NCCPA guidelines and blueprint that you need for PANCE. And so my advice to you at this point is start studying for PANCE from day one. Like have that in your mind that is your end goal. While it's great to study for the test and study for the classes that you have, like sometimes you'll have lectures that are completely irrelevant or not helpful. And so you have to kind of be able to focus on what you're going to have to know at the end. So I always made sure I read through that section. I would read through it like at the beginning and then more towards the end just to make sure I had the basics of what was going on. Pants Prep Pearls was not out when I was in school, but I do really like it. I'll definitely use that when I renew coming up because, again, I really like books. And I think I've heard that one set up really nicely. I think for me, practicing questions was what was most helpful for studying because I have to apply the knowledge. I can't just read it and assume that I know it. I've got to test myself. Mm-hmm. And so there's one called Lang Q&A for and I really liked that one. I'll put a link in the description. I have a link to like a list of things that I loved. And then pharmacology smart charts. You look up Lang smart charts on Amazon. There's a newer version since I was in school, but it saved me.
Lang, it's Lang, right?
Lange. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's like a spiral bound thing, but that was amazing. It's, if you like tables and charts and things, it just has everything so nice.
Okay.
And then as far as online stuff, so first of all, I did not like the Kaplan Q&A, and they may have changed it since then because
I don't do Kaplan, period. That's not for me.
okay.
No.
Yeah, that's fine. I didn't love that. I've done a little bit of Rosh review, and I did
Rosh, I heard about Rosh from you.
yeah, Rosh is good. And then, but that's more for pants. As far as like just learning stuff, I actually need to see links. But anatomy, the Michigan questions. If you Google Michigan questions anatomy, those are great for studying anatomy. And then also Picmonic, I really like.
I heard about this.
And I think it's similar to osmosis. I've played around more with Picmonic, and I actually interviewed their CEO, and he was really cool. He went to med school, and that's kind of how he developed it. But I do think that would be extremely helpful, like the little videos and illustrations for remembering some of the concepts that you learn for. And they do have stuff that's tailored to PAs, which I appreciate. It's not just like med school stuff that they're trying to pass off as PA. So, yeah, so that, I think that would be a few of them.
Have you ever tried online med ed?
I haven't. I need to try that one. I haven't looked at that one. You gotta find like the few things that work for you and stick to them and not try to jump around. Like you can't use everything. Like you
Right.
have to find a system and find the resources that you think are good, and then like make those your go-tos.
Right. Because like in 2 weeks, I'm gonna go buy myself a laptop and an iPad. Because like I'm trying to get it together. Like I already bought myself a book bag and I have everything ready. It's like my exciting phase where I'm buying all these supplies for school. Most likely won't use any of them. Just use like a pencil. But yeah, these are good. I'm gonna definitely go into like I didn't know about Michigan. I didn't know about like that Lang smart chart thing because I'm scared of pharmacology.
Yeah, farm is awful, but yeah, that was so helpful for me. So helpful.
Okay. All right.
You can message me whenever. So.
Yes, you're always very kind to answer. Thank you so much for tonight. This was good. It's always good talking to you. I feel really good after I talk to you.
Well, good. Well, on Instagram, but
Good.
hopefully I'll get to meet you.